So talk about a video that nobody wants to make. But this is why I choose to live in poverty and why I think you should too. And I think it's a little bit deeper than you might be expecting, but hear me out. Hey friends, I'm Heidi, the Heavenly Minded Homemaker, and while we've been around YouTube for quite a few years now, I'm probably the opposite of what most, especially Christian homemakers, are putting out on here. But I think there's a reason for that, because I think for some of us, we want to have those real conversations. We want to think a little bit deeper. We want to be challenged, we really want to dig in. And we've been talking lately about one-income households and things like that. And it really made me think of this about choosing to not seek certain things, which in turn kind of puts you here in this poverty area. But I saw this book in our library the other day and it caught my attention. So just story time for a second, hear me out. This book was talking about the connection. This is not a religious book, this was a secular book, talking about the connection of two-income households and the results that they found from the majority that had two incomes with kids versus one income with kids. And I thought it was very, very fascinating that they found over all of these studies they conducted over years and years and years that two-income homes led to more divorce, more debt, and more overall dissatisfaction with life, even though they had more money. Whereas one-income households had less money, less disposable income, less divorce, less debt, and just an overall higher satisfaction with life, happiness, joy. And again, not from a religious aspect, but just looking at that, I say, it's so funny because we can look biblically to so much of this and see, yeah, I see that that's where you got to that conclusion. But how funny that even the secular world looked at all the data, all the information and went, wow, does a two-income household really make families happier? No, they found the opposite. More families had fallen apart, they were in more debt, had more stress, and were just generally not as happy with life. I thought that was rather important. So being as our family has kind of been all over the map on this one, married at 17, had our first kid and moved into our first apartment on my 18th birthday, we did that. We've always been notoriously poor, but we've also had our own business and made over 6 figures and had more than enough to go around. We've kind of done it all. And I think what's interesting is that lower income doesn't have to mean lower life fulfillment. I loved on the video talking about how to live on one income and real honest tips to get by. I asked you all to share if you're kind of in that same boat as well, and seeing testimony over and over and over again of, yeah, we don't have much maybe from a material, like monetary standpoint, but we live a rich, full life. I think that we kind of get this idea that, well, if I'm broke, if I don't have any money, then life must just really stink and everything's awful. But I think life's only as awful as you choose to see it. And so if you choose to, put your happiness into material items or status or whatever it might be that you think you need to accomplish, then sure, you might not be very happy, but lower income doesn't have to mean lower life fulfillment. And in fact, the statistics we were seeing here, especially from that book, looking at those different families, is that the lower income families were most usually happier. And that's where I think it's really important that we know our true priorities. If your true priority is a nice big designer house, a brand new fancy car, a ton of disposable cash to do whatever you want to do and just shop on all the things that you want to go shop and purchase and whatever, then sure, your priority will probably be you're going to need to work a lot, multiple jobs. Everybody gets a job, get the baby a job, the kids everybody gets a job, because you're gonna need to bring in a lot of cash to have that kind of happiness if that's what your true priority is. Spoiler alert, it never ends well. But when you know your true priority, like I remember for us when our youngest was first starting school and we really had this revelation of, is this really what we want to do? Is it really worth it? We're both working our jobs, climbing our corporate ladders. We had moved to the town and the neighborhood, right? We were moving on up. And we're like, is this really what we want? we're at work all the time. We're not even hardly in our home. We only see our kid in the evenings and a little bit on the weekend, but we're so rushed to get everything done that you're just exhausted. Like, what's the point? What's the point of doing all of this? If I'm gonna have kids, like, I wanna be with my kids. I want to, yes, pursue things that are important, and we want to give back and to be productive and all of that. Fantastic. But my true priority is to pour into my marriage, to be present with my kids, to build them up, to train them up to know the Lord and walk in his ways, right? So the more we started to realize our true priorities in life, we realized that what we were doing didn't support that outcome. And so I think it's really important that when we start to really hone in on what our true priorities are, it makes it really clear to start to go, maybe my true priorities aren't accomplished with money, with status, with accomplishment from a worldly sense. Maybe there's something more. Now, sure, we have the things we have to do. You have to have somewhere to live. You have to have, but again, go check out that video about how to live on one income if you're like, there's no way we could never do it. I promise you, where there's a will, there's a way. But first we need to understand what our true priorities actually are. Something that being poor, living in poverty, whatever you want to call it, really teaches you is how to find cost-effective options. Now, I was raised with a single mom. My husband was as well. We didn't have anything growing up. And so there wasn't, just something we could go purchase, or, if something broke, we could just call the repairman, or, if something needed to be replaced, oftentimes that wasn't an option. We couldn't just replace it. You had to make do, you had to mend, or you had to just do without, it's what it was. But I love the creativity and resourcefulness that created. And so even in our lives today, there's many things that we do that we are intentional with the choices we make to come up with a cost-effective option. And I think that can be difficult. If you've been used to having two incomes, you grew up with disposable cash in your family, you have those things, it might be a little bit different to go, wow, like maybe I can't just go to that. An example for us, like our air conditioner unit in our house went out years ago. And it was kind of one of those things where it was having issues, and we were noticing just how expensive it was, especially during the heat of the summer and the cold of the winter, to heat the whole house, right? HVAC systems in our country are not energy efficient. They just are not. And our bills would get so high in the summer and in the winter. And it really was just way too much with the teeny tiny budget that we had for our bills. And so then it broke, and we had issues, and they're so expensive to replace and all of that. And so for us, out of necessity, we had to come up with a better option. But I love that, because now, even when we've had opportunities to maybe do something different, we have chosen to continue in more cost-effective options. For us, we got these portable air conditioners, and the one that we even have now, it is a heater as well. It is a fraction of the cost to run, literally a fraction of the cost. An even smaller fraction of the cost to purchase it in the first place, but then a fraction of the cost to run it. So even if our, HVAC unit was still working, I would still use these instead, because it costs me so much less to run. It keeps our house so comfortable. It works great. It heats in the winter, keeps it cold in the summer. It's simple and easy to use. And my power bill now hardly fluctuates between the months. Usually here in North Carolina, spring and fall, we don't really have to run anything. The weather's just really perfect. So we really only have to run it in the summer and in the winter. But our bill hardly fluctuates. It goes up a teeny tiny little bit, but it's totally cost effective, because again, we have chosen to find a better solution instead of just thinking we need to use the same thing that we've always been using or that everybody else is using, and just, oh, well, your bills get out of control during these months. That doesn't have to be the case. And so I think it is important that we look for cost-effective options that we can really go to and implement in order to reduce the cost and what we need to be able to get by with still a full, wonderful life. And so I will leave it linked down below if you guys are looking for an option like that with cooling your home. Like I said, whether you have something in your house or you don't have anything and you're like us, this can be a great resource to use to, really either turn off your HVAC or lower it a ton and then just let this run. It is far more cost effective and really just works so well compared to those like old window units that used to exist. These things are so simple to install, super quiet, and they just work phenomenal at a very, very small like power footprint on your bill. So if that can be a help and a blessing, I will link it down below. But for us, things like that have added up and saved us so much money. And none of this matters if you're not going to find beauty and contentment within your means. Now I get it, it's hard, okay? And I have my times where I get weak and I lose it a little bit. And I'm like, but I want a car and I wish we could buy this house. And why can't I just go do the things I want to go do? I get it. It can be stressful. We have our moments. But it's coming back and remembering that the Lord knows exactly where we are. And He provides. He is the ultimate provider. Yes, we work and we do our part, but He's the true provider in it all. And He promises to give us each day what we truly need that day. So if I don't have it today, it's because I don't truly need it today. And when I choose to see the beauty and the contentment in my life within my current means right now, that has a profound impact in every area of my life. I could sit here and I could do videos for days on everything in my life that's falling apart and should be fixed or replaced or just exist in general. I could focus on that. Or I can take what the Lord has equipped me with and make the most of it. Truly enjoy it. Get creative. Make wise choices. Maybe try some things that are a little out of the box. Learn along the way. But life is as lovely as we choose to see it. And I don't want to waste the brief amount of time that I have here in this life being discontent, being frustrated, not having enough, be complaining about everything. I want to look around and be like, Lord, it might not be perfect, but it's what you've given me. And that is a gift. I'm going to appreciate that. I'm going to have fun with it. I am going to make the most out of each and every day because I don't know how many days I get. And so finding that beauty and contentment within your means where you're at right now, might it be different some other day? Sure, it might. But today, this is what it is, and I'm thankful for that. So friends, what about you? Anyone else thriving in poverty? We don't have to look at poverty, and it doesn't even matter what the number is. I think the heart of the issue is that we all think, well, if only I had a little more, if I could get this job, or we could get this promotion, or this could change, or that could change, or whatever. It's thriving where you're at, trusting the Lord, being able to live within or even below your means and make the most of what you have, not always striving for an extra line of credit, an extra bonus, an extra this, an extra that, but saying, Lord, this is where I'm at today. Let me be content with what I have and not constantly just idolizing and just, I need to have that extra bit. That's not where we want to be. So can you thrive in poverty? Absolutely you can. Don't feel the need to seek after all the things, all the beauties and riches of Egypt. No, let's be content where we are. Let's be thankful for it. Let's make the most of it and truly invest in the things that we should be investing in and make wise and even creative decisions and changes to keep us where we're at, content and okay, seeing the loveliness and the beauty in it all, even if it means doing things a little bit differently. So friends, I hope that this can be an encouragement for you here today. You'll have to let me know. Anybody else? Raise your hand, let me know down below, right? I think it is so amazing to see y'all's comments and see others that are going, hey, we're definitely not rolling in the riches over here and we're happy as can be, right? I'm focusing on those things. Maybe you are in that area of poverty, you're lower income. Same here, sister. And you're going, man, I'm having a hard time. Like, I'm not happy with it. I feel so discontent. I pray that this can help and encourage you here today, because I know, been there too. I admit to it. I spent way too many years being frustrated and always chasing that next thing only to get to the top, to have everything in a worldly aspect I thought I needed. And I went, I'm not happy. I'm busy all the time. I'm not even with my kids. Like, my husband and I are, what am I doing? So if it can help you, then praise God. That's what it's here to do. I'm gonna leave you guys with some more videos that I think you'll appreciate. Be sure and you subscribe, turn on your little bell notifications, and come and join us for Biblical Womanhood. Everything is linked down below. Bye, friends.